So I made the bracket, the support bracket, to hold the gearbox yesterday, and really we do need that because otherwise we're never going to get all these little pins and balls into this section if it's lying on its side. That didn't take 5 minutes to do. Actually, it's smaller and it's a little bit different to what I expected to see in the workshop manual. It does give descriptions how to do it in the workshop manual, but I'll just get you a little run around because at this side it's got like a little jacking leg on to keep the weight up so it doesn't tip. Really easy to make. You don't really, I mean it's welded all the way around in the manual, but you just have to do some little tack welds and just make sure it's strong enough. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to fit the selectors, the forks, and all these little balls and springs and pins and things. And I realise that I'm going to have to make this tool here. You see that one? That is to set up the gears. But otherwise, the book, the manual, is very, very vague. It doesn't really show you the order in which these shafts should go in. So I'm just going to set this up at the camera on the stand so you can see what I'm doing, and then we'll get on. So what we need to have handy is our handy hammer, a magnet just in case, and the punch to punch the pins in and out. Now, if you can remember at the beginning when we took this apart, we pushed the pins out. What I've done since then is I've reversed the pins and put them in from the top so they're easy to knock in. And there is something really important you should know about that. So let's get on with it and let's talk through what we're going to do. I've set the camera up in the best place I think I could do it so you can see inside this gearbox without looking at me. So I'll put the camera on the bench. So we might get a bit wibbly wobbledy now and again, so never mind. So what it says first of all is we're going to put these selector forks back in. Now this one is for the third and fourth. So what I'm going to do just to set it off, I'm going to get a little bit of oil into that groove. It's like Madonna getting into the groove. There we are. We'll put some on the reverse and first and second. And that's just so it doesn't go in dry. Quite self-explanatory. That won't go in. You can only put this in the one way, so that's good. And if you ever get stuck how this took apart, and this is why I'm doing this video, because the book's absolutely rubbish, but go back through the old videos and if you're ever stuck, use it as a reference. That's why I'm doing it. I'm just doing it so that, because these books are rubbish. I think I might do this for every gearbox and every piece of Land Rover, but like a living Haynes manual. That'd be good, wouldn't it? So we've put the first and second selector in. That's in. Just laid loose at the moment. I've got the pinch bolts in, but they're not tightened down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pinch bolts out. Okay, take those out. Now look at this. Make note of this. I don't want to drop anything in the box. The reason why we're taking the pinch bolts out is they won't slip through. There are two different pinch bolts. This one with the shoulder on is for the first and second and reverse. This one without a shoulder on, a threaded, fully threaded bolt, is for the third and fourth. So don't forget that. Put them together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab a cloth. Just make sure your cloth is no bits of debris on it. And I'm going to lay it inside the gearbox like that. They don't tell you that either. The reason for that is we've got a really fiddly job to do now. We've got to put these pieces, where have we now? We've got to put these little what could you call them? I don't know, pins, elongated balls, whatever you want to call them. We've got to put them inside here. And this is the reason why we couldn't do this gearbox on the side. And the reason why we've put a rag in is so that we can sort of manipulate them, and if they do fall through, they're only going to fall on the rag. And this is why we have a handy magnet, so we can actually get at them. Because if it drops in the bottom of the box, you can have a lot of problems. So I don't know how I'm going to do this, so let's play along. So I'm going to put a bit of grease on them at first, and I can see one has to go in here, and these are oh, wait a minute, I'll tell you how we can do it. Wait a minute, I wonder if we can do it by taking this end off, pushing the ball through. I don't know, let's have a go. No, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way than that. I wonder if how are we supposed to do this? This is really tricky. You can get them in. They're certainly easier to get out than they are to get back in again. Dear me, what a mess about. Whoa, this is nearly in there. This is wicked. I'm going to have to just stop there and get another longer pin. So the way I've worked it out to do them, to push those pins into there, is that if I get a fairly decent round punch, and if I get a flat blade screwdriver like that, if I start from this end and I start to push them through, if I get a screwdriver under the, so they don't drop in, you can actually push them across. You have to be really sort of careful. No wonder oh, look at that, it's come out again, look. See? It's like one of them frustrating games. You've got to buy this for your kids at Christmas. See me. They always want to turn round. That's not the way. Putting these little rollers into here has proved to be quite a difficult task. I think it's about the 6th or 7th time I've done this now, so I'm getting a bit fed up with it. And it's not to, if you've got bad nerves, don't do this. This is the worst part of doing this gearbox, believe it or not. I've made these little tools here. These they're 14mm bolts with a 8mm hole in them, maybe a little bit bigger, to put these rollers through. Just make sure that they've got a nice passage through. I made them a little bit bigger because then you can turn them and wiggle them around. All they are is just guides. So what we're going to do is we're going to put one guide in here, and I made them long enough so that when you put your finger across the end, you know the hole's in line. And then we're going to do the same with that one. So now we're going to get hold of a roller. We're going to push it in the end, and using preferably a non-magnetic punch, which I just made a mistake of pushing it through, and then I pulled it back out and there was the roller on the end. So we're going to push that through, and obviously we can see by the length of our rod how far we're going in, and we can see there that is just moving a bit. Give it a little tap. There, that's gone through, and then it's gone through that one. So I'm going to withdraw this one and put it in this hole here, and then I'm going to push this one through here. Now when you get to this stage, you might finally get a bit stuck, because if you put some sealer in here, like I did the first time, or was it the 15th time, I'm not sure, there was a little bit of silicone. Let me see. There. Can you see that? Wait a minute. Can you see that? That was just a tiny bit of silicone in this hole here. So it made life a bit difficult. Now it's easier, you know, it's like falling off a log now. So there we go, that's that one through. And I'm just going to push it until it starts to come out of this end here. And there it is. So I'm going to push it forwards, withdraw the tool, and then the pin can come back. There. Lovely. Now we do the same to get the next one in, here. I don't know how you could do it without this tool, honestly, I really don't. It is so frustrating. I tried to do it with pliers, I tried to do it with grease on the end of the punch, that didn't work. So now I've got it through the second one, and I'm just going to push it forwards till it just exits the hole, so I can withdraw my tool, line it up, done. Next one goes in here. So it's only a 5-minute job once you've got the tools, but yeah, it's just trying to work it out. I wish they'd said about this in the manual. So now, should sell these online. There we go, push it through, take the tool back, and those pins are now in place. So the next thing we're going to do is fit the rods, and I'm just going to break this video here because if I make a mistake I'll have to do it over again. So I think we've got that bit done. After getting those very frustrating pins in here, down inside there, the interlock pins, is we're going to fit the shafts. Now first of all we're going to take off the reverse plunger, the reverse switch, because that's got a little spring in, and that's going to make our life a little bit difficult. The next thing, we get the shafts. Now first, we start off on the first and second shaft, and what we have to do is we make sure that all this is nice and smooth, there's no nicks or burrs on here. Then we're going to take some grease, we're going to put it in the interlock hole here, and then we're going to put the pin in like that, and the grease will stop that falling out. So first and second hole is the second one in here. Now if you can see here, there's notches in the top for the detent balls. These go in the top. Don't put them upside down because then nothing will line up. So put this in the second hole, and once it goes in you can slide on your selector piece. That shouldn't be too difficult to do. There we go, and then through the first and second selector fork, keep pushing that forwards, and then is the most important thing, because you can actually put the gearbox together and forget to put the reverse idler in, and then you take it all to bits again. So this has got a little notch in it and it clips in down here. You can't see that, but believe me, it is there. Drop that in and then push everything together like that. Alright? There. So it all sort of clips in together. Pull this piece forward, and then we're going to put the interlock bolt, not the interlock bolt, the pinch bolt back onto the selector. Now this might take a bit of wiggling around to get it to go right. Let's see if we can find it. Oh, wait a minute, it has to go. Oh, I see what's happened. It's when I pushed this forward, it's pushed it into gear. So there we go. Push it back, and there. Did you see it drop in? Fasten it up. But don't fasten it up tight. We have a long way to go yet. There, just put it so it won't go anywhere. The next thing, we're going to put the split pin or the roll pin back into this selector here. So this is a bit tricky. You might have to have 2 or 3 goes at this. Move this shaft around until you find a... There it goes. Can you see that? Now the idea is that the pin should be flush with the bottom, not the top. There we go, it was just knocked through. So that's good, so that one's in. The next one we're going to put in is the 3rd and 4th selector. Again, the same thing applies. I've already prepared this one, but I've got the pin in there with some grease. I've greased the shaft. I've got the selector piece on there. I'm going to take it off, put that through the hole, and put it all back together again. There's so many little pieces to fit in, but it's all got to work right. So, pushing that through, and again keeping those notches for the detent balls right at the very top. There. Now, so when that's almost there, we pick up the shorter bolt, the threaded bolt, and we're going to put it through the selector. We're going to sort of wiggle that around a little bit until we find its place. It is quite tricky. It should be about there somewhere. There we go. If the bolt doesn't go in at first, just keep wiggling and wiggling it, because there's a little notch in the side of the shaft where this has to go. So that's in, and again now we can put the pin in. Find it where the hole is. Now when we put this one in, we can cheat a little bit because we know where this one actually is, so we can tap it around. Maybe not. Where is it now? There it is. See? You just have to sort of wiggle it. And we don't want that to come all the way through. They are quite tight, so there. So that's in now. So that's all good. The next one we're going to put on is the 5th gear. So again, we're going to grease up the shaft. Make sure it's all nice and greased and lubed. Make sure it's a nice free fit through the hole. A little bit of oil to help it on its way. Again, look for the notch. You see there's the little notches, they go to the top. This time there's only 2 of them in, because this only does one sort of job. Well, wait a minute, let's get this worked out where this is going to go. And this goes in like this, look. See, it goes on the top. You can see that. I hope you can see that, because the screen I'm looking at is not very clear. All the way through. All the way through. And there's no pinch bolts or anything on this one. All we've got to do is line up the hole for the roll pin. I'm going to take that split bolt out, the bolt and the washer off, so I don't hit it with a hammer. So this is going to, if you're not sure, just move it back a little bit and then come into it and just tap it very lightly, and it should go. Now's the time you get everything all greased up, and it's very frustrating, but I'm just going to pause this a minute, because this one is really tricky to do. Amazing, eh? As soon as I paused it, it went in. So we're going to use a punch to punch it in so we don't damage the casings with the hammer. Now this one is tricky to find out where it's coming through, so I'm just going to tap it through, and it's through. So that one's in. That wasn't too bad. The next one is the reverse. Again, grease, 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 grease it all up. And then we can assemble this. Now in this one, you remember we've got the spring. We've got to get that the right way around. and this pin here. So we're going to put this through here. That's going to go into there. Don't forget the spring. Push the spring through. And then we've got to locate it on that little bar at the back. Now we've got to take the pinch bolt out this time because I put it in there so we didn't lose it. There we go. Everything's going in. There, that's in. Just going to try and find out where the hole is for the bolt. I think that's it. And you can see now these are all gone flush at the ends. The next thing, fold that back, and we've got to, again, we've got to put the pin in. Now this time the pin's got to do a little bit deeper because it's got a longer way to go. Look at that, straight the first time, because we could get that one straight away because it's all sort of lining up itself now, which is nice. So we're going to knock the pin down and sort of feel underneath if we can. I don't think we can on this one, but I think it's come through. So the next part of it, we'll give our hands a bit of a wipe. Of course, we've got to make a special tools, or some special tools. I'm just going to put that plug in there so we don't lose that, so it's nice and it's tight. And then we've got to put this spring onto here. Now that's going to be a bit of a tricky thing because it's kind of high. I don't know how I'm going to do that, so let's have a go with a pair of pliers. No. Oops. Nearly. The problem is when you put the pliers through the hole, it gets in the way. I'm going to try with a screwdriver. I'm going to try an old technique that I used to do. Put it in the spring itself, lift it up and over the top, and it should clip in. There we go. That's in. There. See, that's got a nice snap to it, so that's good. So what I did was I just put my screwdriver in between one of the coils and then just lifted it up, and it went quite well. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break now, and I'm going to make the tools to set this gearbox up properly. So what we've got to do, just put those in there so they're not going to get dirt in the holes. We need to make, where is it now? I did see it a minute ago. Oh, here. Let's have a look at this. What we need to do now is make this bar here so that we can put some clamp pressure on the detent springs. And we've also got to make this tool here that will set up these forks. I haven't done it again. This is the first time I've done one of these boxes, so I haven't got any tools, but so I'm going to have to make them, which means I've got to use the vise, so I've got to take this down. So I'll come back to this very shortly. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to set the forks for the right lengths and bits and things like that. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to put the balls back into these holes, and again using our old cloth, we're going to put the cloth across there. We're going to get some oil, put it into the holes like this, just so there's some lubrication in there, and then pop the balls in like that. Now, as you can see, that's why I put the rag there, because we didn't really want to drop things into there. So there's 4 bolts in, Then we'll put the springs in, and if you look very carefully you'll see these sort of line up. Can you see when you push the springs down? Again, all the springs in. Now we can take that off. Just make sure that those are in a happy place. Alright? So the next thing we're going to do is we make there's supposed to be a bracket, like a bar that goes across the front. I just knocked a piece of angle iron with the holes at 130 millimeters, and it says you need a 1/2 inch spacer. Well, I haven't got a 1/2 inch spacer, but I've got a couple of nuts here that's almost the same. And the idea is it puts pressure on the top of the springs whilst you adjust the pinch bolts. Quite a good idea, really. Just for a minute, get them all lined up. I'm just wondering whether those bolts are going to be too long. Probably. Oh no, they're okay, they're good. So we wind the bar down, wind the screws down, there we go. So that's down now, and we've got pressure on there, so those arms are now in the place where they should be. They're locked in, those selector rods. And now, according to the book, we need a pencil, and we're going to move. You see, these forks can move a little bit. Can you see that? Let's zoom in a bit, if we can. Oh, wrong way. Yeah, this might be a good way of doing it. So those move. So what we've got to do is push it to one side. Well, actually, I'm just going to get a bit of brake cleaner in there, because then we can see the shaft's quite nice. So I want to dry that off really quickly. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a mark on the back edge with a pencil. Move it forwards. We're going to mark it again, and then we're going to put that right in the middle of the two marks, and then that's tight, and then we can tighten that up. So that's not too bad. So we know that the fork is the fork. Say for example this is a fork and it's riding right in the centre of that groove there. So I'll zoom back out again. Whoa, I'll have to get the hang of this camera, it's a little bit different to one I had before. So I've done that one. I'm going to use a different spanner to tighten that up. That was just for now. I'm going to find my pencil because I've lost it again. Where did I put it? Oh, here we go. So then we're going to do the same with the first and second. We're going to move the first gear. We're going to put a mark on the back. Oh, broke my pencil. Mark on the back. Move it forward. Mark again. Go halfway. Like that. And we can tighten that up. So hopefully somewhere I've got a 13mm socket. So you don't. What I'm going to do is just tighten these two up now, and then we'll get on to the reverse one. I've turned the gearbox around, and this is going to be quite difficult to explain and see, but what we're doing now is we're going to set up the reverse locking bolt here. But what it's saying first of all, and if you can see down there where I've got my punch, there's a washer there. Can you see I've just moved it? That's got to be pointing forwards first of all, and then we have to select reverse. So I wanted you to see that, what I've just done down there, and now I'm going to put the camera back on the stands. So the last part of the setup is to set the reverse gear idler, and this bar here, and as you can see it's quite free to move, and you can hear the gear moving around on the shaft. If you can remember from the previous section, I showed you where the washer was, and now we're going to make this. I made this little sort of spacer type tool. There was no need really to go into such great elaborate things like they showed in the manual. The critical thing is the tip of here has to be between 2.2 and 2.5 millimeters thick. Well, this was only 1.5 millimeters. It's just a piece of old bit of tin I found on the floor. So what I did was, because there's no stress in this, I just put some solder on the end, just warmed it up and soldered it, and then filed it down till I got within the tolerances, which was quite easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to select reverse gear. There it goes, it's clunked into gear. And then we're going to move this arm backwards and forwards. You see there? And looking down, like I can't show you that, but looking down, we're going to clamp that up. You see it's on its own now. Clamp this up and that should be set, hopefully. So you don't need, they say you need a lot of special tools. Really, there are one or two, but not too bad. See if we can get another nip of that out. So that's done. So now it's saying select, put it into neutral, and then it's saying move the first and second rail rearwards to select first gear. That's this one here. Ow, I've nipped myself. And make sure that the rail, there's nothing touching. Reverse gear idler and the reverse gear on the first and second yoke sleeve. What the heck does that mean? Let's have a look. Oh, look, I'm bleeding. No, man, get some insurance. So let's have a look and see if there's nothing touching. I think that's okay. Yeah, there's nothing touching there. It's pretty good. So I don't think we have to worry about that. So that's back into gear again. There's nothing touching and grinding. So I probably saw the top of my head there and didn't see much of what was going on. But that is now set up and waiting for the gaskets to come this week, which is a bit of a shame. I'm going to keep this bar on here until we're ready to put the top cover on, and then that's it. It's ready to box up. Don't forget to put the reverse plunger on. That's why I left it off, because then it was easy to push this backwards and forwards. And yeah, so we're good to go. So just needing some parts to come from the UK to finish this off, and we'll do another video on it just to show you all the rest of the pieces, but that's basically all you need to do. So we'll sign off now, and then we'll do another video later on.